You ever wake up one morning, take a slow sip of coffee, and watch three police cruisers barrel up your driveway at dawn, lights blazing, tires chewing gravel, engines roaring like a war movie? That was me. Right then, I knew my day was about to get real interesting. The kicker? There's Belle Thornwick, president of the fanciest HOA this side of the Rockies, perched in her spotless Range Rover, phone out, recording every second with the kind of grin that says she's just waiting for the show to start. Yeah, that happened. And all because she decided my family's century-old lake, where my grandmother's ashes rest, suddenly belonged to her precious Instagram-famous son. Let me back up a sec. My name's Garrett Holloway, and this is the story of how one over-caffeinated HOA president tried to rip out the soul of my family's ranch, and learned, the hard way, why you never, ever mess with a rancher who knows his rights. See, I'm the fourth Holloway to run this place. 2,400 acres of Montana that my great-granddad Augustus carved out of nothing but wilderness and sheer will. Back in 1887, that lake, it's not just water to us. It's where my grandma Eleanor used to sit shelling peas, laughing as us grandkids cannonballed off the old dock. When she passed, we scattered her ashes at sunset right where she loved best, the light dancing on the water, her laughter echoing in the quiet. Some people have fancy mausoleums. We have the land. So when Belle, late 40s, blonde highlights that probably cost more than my monthly feed bill, always looking like she just stepped off the set of some real estate reality show, decided my property was the next hotspot for her son's influencer career, things went south fast. Her boy, Tucker, is 22, has the work ethic of a roadkill possum, and a social media following big enough to give him delusions of grandeur. Next thing I know, strangers are showing up at my lake, paying $200 a pop to fish or make content, beer cans and broken bottles in my cattails. Music thumping loud enough to scare away the meadowlarks. My grandma's ashes probably shook in that lake, I swear. First it was neighborly visits. Then, Belle started with the paperwork, manila folders, and fake smiles. Garrett, I've done some historical research, she purrs, spreading out official documents across my kitchen table. Claims that her subdivision, the one that didn't even exist until 2019, had recreational rights to the lake my family built with our bare hands. I spotted the forgeries right away. Wrong township names, wrong dates. Cute, if you like amateur hour. But my granddad always said, don't show your cards too soon. Let him dig their own grave. So I told her, real polite, I'll have my attorney take a look. Took photos of everything. Her face dropped just a hair. But Belle's not the kind to back down easy. She sicked the county inspector on me next, then started telling anyone who'd listened that my cattle were contaminating her children's water, that I was mentally unstable, that I was threatening families just for using community resources. Never mind my family's deed predated her McMansions by a century. Never mind her son was making bank selling exclusive Montana lake access online like he was born here. Now, rumor travels fast in a small town. Garrett's broke, they whispered. He's about to lose the ranch. Taxes, you know. Out here, that's fighting talk. My family's name is all we have, and I wasn't about to let some suburban social climber drag it through the mud. So I started fighting fire with fire, hired a surveyor, put up security cameras, documented every trespass, every beer bottle. Every time Tucker filmed himself claiming his family's traditional fishing spot. He even built a dock on my land, caught the whole thing on video, complete with him bragging about his profit margins. But the worst was yet to come. Belle's campaign got sneaky, nuisance complaints, accusations of threats, restraining order filings, even calls to the sheriff that I was unstable. Thing is, I never raised my voice, never even got close enough for her to smell my aftershave. Security footage, body cams, timestamps, every second of it proved she was full of it. But accusations stick, you know? Especially if you're a single, divorced, 45-year-old rancher living alone with nothing but your dog and your stubborn pride. Meanwhile, Tucker's little business was booming. Instagram posts bragged about making $47,000 in 3 months. The county road turned into a parade of out-of-state plates every weekend, trash piling up, cattle getting stressed. My prize bull Augustus off his feet. I watched my land turn into a circus, and my blood just boiled. Then the real twist landed. My water pump, 80 years old and patched together with love and duct tape, suddenly gave out. 8 grand in repairs, in the middle of a drought, and my cattle had no water for days. At first, I chalked it up to bad luck, until I found the severed electrical lines and tire tracks leading straight from Tucker's lifted truck. Cameras caught shadows and hoodies sneaking around at 2 in the morning. Not enough for charges, but enough to know I wasn't just fighting a paperwork war anymore. Thing is, I was getting desperate too. Lost contracts, boycotts, even the vet refused to treat my herd for a spell. Economic pressure, just like Belle wanted. My own money funding the same emergency services used to harass me. Took me months to figure that out. Buried under years of old service district agreements in my granddad's filing cabinet. That's when I found it, the legal nuclear option. Turns out, my ranch, because of its size, wasn't just another property. It was the anchor for the rural service district. I was the administrator, like it or not. Meaning, I controlled the budget for every emergency service, road crew, utility contract for both the ranch and the shiny subdivision next door. Yeah, you heard right. For years, I'd been paying 60% of the taxes funding the very patrols, fire responses, and services used to torment me. Belle and her HOA? They'd been funneling public money into private amenities, pool chemicals, tennis courts, clubhouse parties, on my dime. It was a shell game, but I finally saw the pattern. With the help of my daughter Skylar, a journalism major with more grit than a sack of gravel, my attorney, and my accountant buddy Pete, we dug into the records. Kickback schemes, overcharges, shell companies owned by Belle's husband and his cronies. They'd looted millions from the district, thinking no rancher would ever notice. Time for my counterattack. I called an emergency meeting, laid out the documents, and dropped the bomb. Effective immediately, all service contracts required my sign-off. I demanded a full audit. Belle panicked. HOA meetings turned into shouting matches, subdivision residents suddenly facing $3,000 emergency assessments just to keep their fancy security and landscaping. The panic spread faster than a grass fire in August. Meanwhile, Skylar started leaking the truth to local reporters. Channel 7 ran a segment exposing Tucker's illegal business, Belle's fake documents, the threats, the sabotage. Even the governor's office got wind of it. Apparently, Belle tried to report me for domestic terrorism over infrastructure. They laughed her out of the building. But Belle, in true HOA villain fashion, didn't quit. She hired a crisis PR firm, started a GoFundMe, claimed I was bullying innocent families, posted tearful videos online. But her empire was cracking. 3 kids got arrested for cutting my fences, caught on infrared, bragging about making the rancher look crazy for Belle. Parents turned on her. Homeowners demanded answers. Board members quit in droves. The final showdown? County commission hearing, standing room only, TV crews and journalists crowding the halls. I stood there, holding a century's worth of documents, laid out every fraud, every theft, every lie. Played the recordings of Belle's bribe. She actually offered me 50 grand to look the other way. Showed videos of Tucker's parties, the damage, the tax fraud. Neighbors testified about threats and pressure from Belle and her husband's bank. An environmental scientist showed before and after photos of the lake, trashed by influencer tourists. The commissioners didn't just rule in my favor. They handed everything to the state attorney general and the feds. Belle? 18 months in federal prison for $100,000 restitution. Tucker got probation, a lifetime ban from monetizing social media, and lost everything he'd scammed from my land. The HOA was gutted, leadership replaced, the lake declared forever private. Even better? The money we recovered set up a legal fund for rural landowners across Montana. 47 families defended their rights in the next 6 months. Because of it. But you know what the real victory was? Waking up to the sound of meadowlarks again. No beer bottles in the grass. No strangers trampling the pastures. My daughter teaching environmental science classes by the lake. My neighbors apologizing. Even the feed store coming back hat in hand. The land healing, the legacy safe. Sometimes, you fight for your family's memory, and you end up winning something bigger. A whole community, maybe even a new law. But I'll tell you this, when someone tries to steal your heritage, you don't just defend it. You make damn sure they can't ever pull the same trick on anybody else. So let me ask you, what's justice really? Is it just winning in court? Or is it making the world a little fairer for the folks who come after you? Have you ever stared down someone who thought their money, their lawyers, their connections could take what's yours and gotten the last word? I want to hear your stories. HOA nightmares, battles fought and won, lessons learned the hard way. Drop a comment below. Smash that like if you know what it's like to have your back against the wall. Share if you think land, history, and family mean more than a fancy Instagram post. And hey, subscribe. Because next week, I'm telling the story of how a retired teacher took down a whole corrupt school board with nothing but a calculator and a stubborn streak. Remember, out here, kindness isn't weakness, and the land always wins in the end.